So tell us how you got in this crazy world of marketing.
Well, don't let your kids grow up to be marketers, right? But so I got into marketing is sort of backwards. I was a writer, and this was at the beginning of the dot-com craze, sort of in the middle of it, and so I developed some very basic web design, web development skills, and so I started to find projects doing ad copywriting for both for print, honestly, at the beginning, and then digital. Segued from there into being a community manager for an online community, and then from there decided to go back to school and get a degree in developing learning management systems, instructional design and instructional technology. To pay my way through that, though, I got a job in research, marketing research, at Reed Elsevier, a big trade publisher.
Yeah.
I loved it there. I loved doing market research. And then straight out of grad school, I got a job as the marketing manager for a startup because they were looking for someone who could write, build websites, and do market research. And I got all of those skills and thought, well, you know what? Now I may as well just become a full-time marketer. And I've never looked back.
Yeah. Well, true entrepreneur, finding ways to make it work until you can make it work.
Yes, exactly.
So what are some of the big changes you mentioned, kind of starting on the writing side and then moving over to digital marketing? My husband, Isaac, and I started in the radio industry and moved over as well. And that's how we got into a lot of the podcasting and social media space. So what are some changes that you have seen happen kind of as you've moved through the years?
Honestly, I've been in marketing. If you count the time I was a writer and a community manager, ad copywriter, about 20 years. I have seen a lot of changes in that time. Most especially, I would say it's been the shift clearly to digital marketing. Along with that shift, though, one of the things that happened was a belief that digital marketing was practically free, and B, you could target anybody, which for a while was true because we were allowed to use third-party cookies and those kinds of more intrusive forms of data collection. What hasn't changed, though, is what marketing is really about. It's about reaching your customers with your value. It's not, as people perceive marketing to be, about a hard sell, about convincing people to want something that they don't really want or need. It's about educating consumers and helping them see the value of what you bring to the table, your brand, your products, and your services. And that's something where, if anything, it is in the shift to digital, it's become harder in some cases to demonstrate that marketing's not a magic button you push and customers come to your door because you tweeted something out. So that education aspect has become a little tougher.
Okay. So I'm really interested, especially with the rise of TikTok and that community that, influencers are building. So you served on the board of the American Marketing Association as vice president for social media through much of the 2000s. Where has this development of community come out of, and do you have some kind of insider tips on how we can build that? I feel like a lot of times, especially businesses, get caught up in the doing of social. So like, I need to post, but then there's so much more in the background, right, that happens to really make that work.
Absolutely. Yes. So as you mentioned, I served on the board of the American Marketing Association, Boston, the fourth largest AMA chapter in America. And this was, again, in the 2000s. So over a decade ago, social media was just coming into its own. And that perception was there of, oh, we'll tweet something out and 10,000 people will come to our door.
Right.
And one thing that we noticed, I was very early in getting into influencer marketing, and it came through analytics. I saw that the majority of conversions that were coming to our website were people who had searched for our speakers. And back in those days, you got much more data out of Google Analytics. You could see what people had searched for who had converted much more clearly. That data was, very clearly provided for free. So you could see that the people who were buying tickets to our which was how we define conversions, as well as people joining as members, those folks were all primarily folks interested in a specific speaker. So we asked our speakers to become influencers. I reached out to them. We did a campaign called Tweets for Seats. That was simply asking them to take pre-scripted tweets if they didn't feel like doing anything else that I had written for them, and tweet about their appearances, their guest appearances at our workshops. And it grew our events to the point where most were getting sold out in certain seasons. And I'll never forget, I launched a new digital marketing focused series. The first one, and there's a real moral to this story. The first one got completely rained out, and it happened when the Boston Celtics had made it to the playoffs unexpectedly. So we had 4 attendees. One of them was me. The second one, we had 20 attendees. 6 months in, we had 200 attendees.
Wow.
We had 220 people lined up. We had to turn people away because of fire codes in the building.
Wow.
All of this was because of what we didn't even call influencer marketing in those days, getting the speakers who had their own followings to share it out. So that was an early sign that there was a real hunger in consumers' minds, including the B2B consumer, which is what we were targeting, who we were targeting, for real connections with real people.